Welcome to Just Travel with Sandy. I'm Sandy. I'm a travel advisor, and I just wrote a book not too long ago called The Travel Lounge Life. And it's really a memoir about my life and how travel has shaped me. And it has become my mission to help, especially busy professional women who want more than just a trip, that are seeking meaningful growth through travel and peace and connection to self. So it is my mission to inspire you to transform your life through intentional, soulful journeys. Because it's not, to me, about checking things off the bucket list, it's truly about transformation. And I know that planning can sometimes feel super overwhelming with the details and the logistics and the language barriers, all the things. So, this podcast will give you structure and inspiration, some clear practical tips alongside real stories and mindset shifts. I've traveled to 39 countries. Two just being added on the list. I just got back from a trip to Europe and added two countries to that. So we're now at 39 and counting. And I have built my life through exploration. And what I've truly learned is that it's never too late to see the world and wander the world, Wanderlust, the German word, with ease. So whether you're someone who loves having a plan, thrives on meaningful connection, or just wants the facts before jumping in, this space is for you. And I'm really excited today to have with me my guest, Noemi Beres. She lives in Cyprus, and I felt like even though we'd never met before, we really have a lot in common. She's traveled widely and, like I said, lives in Cyprus now. She's the co owner of Podcast Connections and helps entrepreneurs grow through meaningful podcast interviews. She's a linguist, a content creator with years of experience in online marketing, and an artist who brings her travels and love of nature into soulful mixed media pieces. And most recently, she's created silent thinking sessions, quiet, intentional spaces for slowing down and reconnecting to our fast moving lives, which I can so relate to and I really want to hear more about. So, thank you so much for being with us, Noemi. And you live in Cyprus now, but you've also
Thank you.
lived in Hungary, Denmark, and Ireland.
Yeah, that's
Moved
correct.
around a lot.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I was born and raised in Hungary in a small town, and I always wanted to travel. And thanks to my parents, they always were traveling to like different countries. We went on road trips together in our old Skoda. I think which
Yes,
type of
yes.
car is that? That was the older type,
Love
and it
that.
was red. It was red, and we just went on these road trips in the ex-Yugoslavia and Bulgaria and different countries. And I think all this Wanderlust, if you call it in German, it comes from there, from my love of travel and discovering new cultures and new places.
It makes being raised in Europe, I don't know, my listeners, most of you know that I'm from Germany. It just makes travel so much easier because you can, like, we used to jump in the car too. We used to go to Austria, we used to go to France, we used to go. In fact, I was raised 4 hours from Paris and we jump on the train. And so it is a beautiful thing to be able to do that. And you've lived in Ireland and in now in Cyprus and Hungary and Denmark as well, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was an exchange student in Denmark when I was
Okay.
16, many moons ago. And I went to a high school there for a year. That's how I learned Danish. And when I finished my studies, I couldn't really find any job in Hungary at that time. So we moved together with my husband. We moved to Ireland and we lived there for 7 years, but it was too cold. And so we moved to a Mediterranean country. We picked a Mediterranean country, and that was Cyprus. And now especially me, I complain about the heat. So it is never, nothing's perfect.
No, there's nothing perfect. So living in all these different countries, because I have been to I've actually never been to Denmark, but I have been to the other three, and culturally they're so different,
Yeah.
so different. So how did each country like shape you? And I always say there's no perfect place in the world, like you said, even just the
No,
weather.
no.
So how did that work for you?
I don't know. It for me, like Ireland, I think I kind of manifested Ireland when I was like in my 14 or 13, because There was like just a short story about that. I found one of my diaries from my teenager years. And I was gobsmacked when I read it. And oh my God, I want to live in Ireland because all the beautiful green rolling hills and all the Celtic music and the Celtic mythology. I always loved it. I'm learning Irish right now. I don't even live in Ireland and I'm learning Irish. Look,
Oh,
why would you do
really?
that? Yeah, I do. But it's like, and so actually I manifested it. But that was it like age 13, 14. And then I ended up in my early 20s living in Ireland. And for me, it was the Irish culture, Irish people. I think they're amazing. They have a wicked sense of humor.
Yep.
And it was just a beautiful place to live. And I have really fond memories like living there. I love the hustle bustle of culture and gigs and everything of Dublin. It's not a huge city, but it's still beautiful. And I lived very close to it. So it was really nice to just get there or travel from Dublin to different countries across Europe because Ryanair has so many
Yep.
flights from Dublin. So it was so much fun to do that. But then when I was thinking about like to having a child and raising a child, I didn't want to do that in Ireland. It
Hmm.
for me it wasn't the perfect space, and I always wanted to move to a Mediterranean country to experience the Mediterranean lifestyle. So I was thinking about like maybe south of Spain or Malta or something, and then ended up here in Cyprus basically because they speak English. It's a really nice Mediterranean place. Yeah, and Cyprus is it's a completely different culture. And when we moved here, how many years ago? My gosh, 13 years ago
Oh,
or four?
wow.
No,
Okay.
14. No, 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
14 years ago, it was a culture shock after Dublin and after Ireland. It was so different. But then thankfully we things change here too. And we caught up somehow. Like we have a mall now in our neighborhood and we have stuff that we can order online, which didn't happen before COVID. And so many things change and it's really multicultural right now. So yeah, I get all these the Eastern vibes from Cyprus, the Western Catholic traditions from Ireland, and of course my roots, my Hungarian heritage. So it's like a big mix of everything. But I think that's really beautiful when you can just adapt yourself to different cultures and languages. And I always enjoy that. And that was my dream since I was growing up. And age 5, 6, I was playing like I'm a travel agent and stuff like that. So I had my travel brochures and
Yep.
everything. So I was in that space from an early age.
That's so funny because I did the same thing because we traveled so much and it was
Yeah.
just I used to play travel agent too. And in Germany and in most European countries, every little village has a travel agency, right? The travel
Yes.
thing is there's TUI, there's Neckermann. Like, it's just different in America. Travel is
Yeah.
just so different in America. And in Cyprus, I'm assuming you're on the Greek side, on the
Right.
yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah. The
Yeah, yeah.
European part.
Yeah, okay. That's what I figured because
Yeah.
that would make it. Yeah. That's so cool. And I love that you lived in Ireland though, because Ireland is Dublin is a great city. It's a big city, but it's a small city.
It
And that's
is.
what
Yeah.
I love about Dublin. So that's amazing. Now, you said that fall is your favorite season, which it is mine too, to be honest with you. And you said that you love Northern North Carolina,
Yeah.
which is ironic because I used to live in North Carolina and it is a beautiful place. I used to live in Chapel Hill. So not in the mountains, close enough to the mountains. Tell me a little bit about that. Do you go visit? Do you go see the change of
Yeah, I would love to. I was there just like first time in my life this spring, like last spring in May, and that was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Actually, that was my first time in the US, so I had to wait
Oh,
like
wow.
45 years to get there. But yeah, it happened. And but it was beautiful and I love the nature. And I'm not a big city girl. So I was born and raised in a small town. I always lived in smaller cities all across Europe. So for me, just starting there, like I arrived in Raleigh and then I was in the Winston-Salem area,
Yep.
close to mountains and everything. So it was a great hiking trip. I really enjoyed that. So it wasn't like a huge culture shock for me. If you go to Manhattan or New York, something like that's a big thing. But yeah, it was beautiful. Culturally, it was so different. Like I could really
Yes.
feel that, like you're in a different country. I was in Morocco before, in different European countries, but this was something, yeah. Yeah, and plus the long trip, 16 hours or something to get there for me from Cyprus. So it takes time.
That is a long time. Yeah, when I was in Cyprus, I was still living in Germany. North Carolina, America is so versatile. So I've lived in
Yeah.
I've lived in Florida, I've lived in North Carolina, I've lived in New York, and I've lived in California. Now, for
Wow.
me, my favorite place in America for me is California. I felt it
Right.
was the only place, to be honest with you, that I really felt at home since leaving Germany. I just really
Mm.
connected with Northern California. So we lived in the Sacramento area and I really loved it. But North Carolina has some beautiful, and the South again is so different. So I can imagine, especially coming from Cyprus or even Ireland, it is a totally different culture.
It is indeed.
You'll have to go back in the fall though, when at
Mm.
some point when the trees change their colors, which I'm in upstate New York and it's beautiful here too. So
Yeah.
I'm 2 hours north of the city and it's beautiful trees and the Catskill and the Berks. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I would
Um,
love that. We have that little time in Cyprus when you go up to the mountains, because we do have them here too. And you can see the foliage and you can see the fall, like the real fall weather. Right now we have still have it's like September, at the end of September, still heat wave, and you can easily go to the beach like for the whole day. So it's like summer, still summertime.
and that's what most people know Cyprus for is the beaches and
Yeah.
the sunset, and it is beautiful. I absolutely loved it when I was there. But and this really ties into what I do because the group tours that I lead to different places are usually more off the beaten track. So, are there any hidden spots in Cyprus that you would recommend that are not, and I don't want to say touristy because some of the touristy places are
Yeah.
touristy for a reason, right? So you go to Paris the first time, obviously you want to go see but what in Cyprus would you recommend to people that don't want to just do beaches?
I so remember one day there was like, okay, let's go to a beach. This is a hidden spot. And then we arrived and it was packed like 9 a.m. in the morning. And so it's really hard to find hidden spots in Cyprus anymore because obviously people, they're reading online reviews, TripAdvisor, whatnot. So they will know all about the hidden spots. But there is a place in Cyprus, which I love. It's about an hour drive from where I live. And it's called Lachi, and it's a beautiful place. It's still not overdeveloped like other cities like Limassol or Paphos or Nicosia or whatever places you go in Cyprus. But Lachi is it's basically where I live, the East Coast, and it's a beautiful place. And I love the beach. It's not crowded. You have space to breathe, to swim in the sea, and it's like a stony beach, but it's still beautiful. And so yeah, that's the hidden spot. Many tourists go there, but it's still not as crowded as any other places in
Right.
Cyprus. Yeah.
Germans love Cyprus. I'm sure you hear
Yes.
German quite a bit. But do you see a lot of American tourists in Cyprus?
Oh, not so much. It's very interesting. Not so much. A lot of Germans, and not just tourists, but like people living here. Like so
Living.
many young families. Like my son goes to a British school, and there are more and more German kids at school, and more young German families, like online entrepreneurs moving to Cyprus because everything is just easier here to set
Yep.
up a business and everything.
Yep.
But like compared to, for example, Latvia, because I was in Latvia during the summer holiday because it's cooler there. That's why people go to Latvia from Cyprus in August because you are dying here, and it was beautiful there. You could breathe, but there were so many more Americans there, like in Riga, in the capital, than in Cyprus. So that's really interesting. So maybe we're just far away from everything. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can find them, but like more British, Scandinavian tourists. Yeah, yeah,
I know it's a very popular, and the Irish too. They love going to
yes.
Cyprus. In fact, it's my sister-in-law that told us they had just been to Cyprus and we were looking for a place to go on our honeymoon that wasn't too far and blah, 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 from Germany, of course, at the time. And so a lot of Irish go, but I've actually mentioned Cyprus to some people here in America and they'd honestly never even heard of it.
No, they have no clue. I usually, when I'm on podcast and they ask me, so where are you? And it's like, Cyprus. It's okay. Where is that? It's
Is that on the
close
moon?
to Israel, Syria, Turkey, just in the right spot.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So you do podcast connection. What does that look like? I'd really be interested, and especially being pretty new in the podcast space, what does that look like?
So basically, we run a podcast booking agency called Podcast Connections. We have entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, you name it, to get on quality podcast shows. Basically, we help them to share their knowledge, share their stories, and that's our main focus. It's like a PR agency, but solely focusing on podcast interviews. So we have the
Interesting.
clients, the clients, the guests hire us, And we need to find them those podcast interview spaces, places online.
Okay.
And we work with around 600-ish podcasts all around the world, mainly in the US and Canada. So
Interesting.
I always tell people I live in my American bubble here in Cyprus because I talk to more Americans than to locals.
That's funny. I know that's what remote work does to us, right? It's like we
Absolutely,
get,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I love that though. And we'll definitely have a talk. So you do all different subjects. So let's say, I don't know, somebody in the health space wanted to come to you, or somebody from the marketing space or the travel
Yeah.
space, everybody. Okay. That's
It's
very
basically,
interesting.
yeah, as long as they have an established business
Right.
and they want to spread their
Knowledge.
information, knowledge about their industry, about their niche, they can be authors. So basically anything. So we started to work with e-commerce experts, but then we expanded. And since then, we're working with leadership coaches, healers. So it's like the wide spectrum between the two. So yeah, basically with almost anyone like that can be a guest on podcast interviews. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. We'll definitely have to chat. Going back to travel, and I'm just really because it's been a while since I've been in Cyprus, and I'm sure a lot has changed since I've been there. If somebody were coming to Cyprus, wanted a book of, let's say an American who'd never even heard of Cyprus was
Mm.
coming to Cyprus and just wanted to see something different and wanted to do a vacation, what what would you recommend they do? Because maybe they didn't want to just do beach time. Like
Yeah.
what would you recommend a trip like that could look like for somebody?
Absolutely. Obviously, beach is a no-brainer. So everybody will go to the beach at some point
Yes.
because it's
Yes.
beautiful. And watching those sunsets and beautiful restaurants when you can watch the sunset. And so I really love that place. But if you are interested, you can always go up into the mountains where it's cooler and you can go for hiking. Not many people know that, but actually you can ski in Cyprus during wintertime because we have a lot of snow up there. Not here, thankfully, but up there we do have a lot. So you can do that, for example, in the winter or maybe in early spring. Like one day you can ski in during the day and then you come down to the Mediterranean part and you can even swim in the sea if you are brave enough to get into the water at that time. But you can totally do it or sunbathe. I like
Right.
you can
Right.
do that. But also the history is just that's amazing, especially for Americans. You come to Cyprus and you go to these archaeological parks we have here and the Odeons, and it's just amazing. Thousands of years of history and the mosaics here and palaces and it's just something to discover when you are here. And also there's a beautiful churches, obviously Orthodox churches up in the mountains, and you need to visit them, the icons and everything. It's just amazing place. Or there are different like wine tours. Wines are pretty good. Also, although I'm not a wine drinker, but I was told they are pretty good. So you can do that here
I've
as
heard
well.
that too. I've never had any, but I've heard that the wines are, yeah, pretty
Yeah,
good.
they're good. And the olive oil, obviously, during fall, you can go to these trips and you can discover how they make them. And you go to different farms and you can taste the different olive oil. So it's like a really like Mediterranean taste of Cyprus, and you can totally do that. It's a beautiful places here, and the history is just unbelievable.
Very Mediterranean. Would you recommend
Yeah,
somebody rent a car? Say
yeah,
they wanted to do,
absolutely.
say, 5 days at the beach and then rent a car and then, or that kind of thing?
It's a must. It's a must because if
Yeah.
you need to get to somewhere, there is public transport in Cyprus. But if you're a tourist and if you just want to discover this beautiful island, you need to rent a car for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I did because ever since we connected and Cyprus hadn't been on my radar for a while. And then we connected and I'm like, oh yeah, Cyprus. Maybe I need to go back because it's been very long.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's great when you for me, it's great when I go see a place, a city, a country, or whatever, and I hadn't been in a while. Like I was in London just last week or
Yeah.
whatever, and I hadn't been in a few years, and that's changed tremendously. I mean,
Mm,
only in 5, 6 years, like places just evolve and they changed, especially
yes,
since COVID, so much has changed. So I'll definitely have
absolutely.
to come visit. And you
Yes,
said
please.
you're on the eastern part, you said?
Yeah, on the East Coast, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
The
And are
most
you
beautiful, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
The most beautiful beaches, in my opinion, are on the other side, but they are more touristy and
Yeah.
very, how should I put that? Like very, I don't know if you know the place in Spain, Magaluf, and all that area where it's like
Mm-mm.
really like party places. So those party
Oh, yeah,
places
yeah, yeah.
are on the
Mhm.
west side of the island. So
Right.
it's beautiful white sandy beaches. We have nice beaches too, but it's quieter, it's more family friendly and everything. So it's a bit like more chilled here on this side.
And that's nice. That's really nice. That's what you
Yes.
want. Awesome. I really appreciate it. I do have one question for you. So, one of my focuses is on solo travel for women. And what I get a lot from people here in America is that they women that they want to travel, they're over just wearing all the hats and they just want to do something for themselves. And for Cyprus, would you say Cyprus would be a good place for a woman to go as a solo traveler?
Absolutely. It's a pretty safe place. Although it changed a little bit in the past 10, 14 years, but it's still a very safe space. If you are even a solo traveler, if you are a female, it doesn't really matter. It's like you can totally walk around in the evening, even by yourself. And yeah, absolutely. It's a very welcoming place. People are really kind and nice. So yeah, let's just do it. Come to
And that's what
Cyprus.
I was saying because that Mediterranean, they're so friendly. And I always
They
say when we
are.
travel solo, we're really never alone unless we want to be. So it's that. So that's good to know. I really appreciate it. And we'll have to definitely plan another trip to Cyprus. And
Yes,
that's
please.
awesome.
That would be amazing.
I really appreciate you being on, Noemi, and giving us some insight and your moving around the world from Ireland to Cyprus. That's definitely a big cultural difference, but I love that. And of course, Denmark and Hungary. And I really appreciate taking the time to share a little bit about Cyprus. And I just want to tell my listeners, if you want to get in touch with Noemi, I will have, or if you have a podcast or want to be a guest on a podcast, I'll have all her information linked in the show notes so you can reach out to her. One thing you mentioned, not you told me, I did want to learn a little bit about this, the silent thinking sessions. What is that?
Yeah, it's a new concept that I came up with. There's so much noise in our world, so many distractions, social media, everything just around us, the whole world is buzzing all the time. So what we need, just a safe space where we can be silent in the presence of some kind of positive energy, and that's me. And it's basically a place where you can think, like even just for half an hour, because we never schedule thinking into our calendar. Like when we do that, we never do that. There's so many distractions. So basically that's what I created. That's why I created silent thinking sessions. And then I also have a podcast, which is not like a regular podcast, not like yours interview style, but it's an ASMR style reading podcast where I read books from my great friends and they give permission to do so, and people can just listen to it. And even if they are just too much going on in their life, they have PTSD or they are anxiety, they can just listen to these books and fall asleep. Basically, that's why I created this podcast. And I read these books one by one. And because I'm a bookworm, I love reading. I always loved reading. So yeah, why not start a podcast, an ASMR style reading podcast?
I love that. And you brought up such a good point. I'm a big time blocker and I don't even want to say time management because it's really more me management, right? We
Yeah,
all have 24 hours in a day, but it's how do we manage us in that 24 hours?
correct. Yeah.
So the time management doesn't really, but we do get so distracted, the doom scroll or especially for entrepreneurs working from home and
Yeah.
then the puppy cuddles and the, it's just like,
Everything.
all the things. So I love that. That's a brilliant idea. I'll have to actually include that in my just thinking because and not just random thoughts. So thank you for that, Noemi. I really
It's
appreciate it.
my pleasure. It's my
Yeah.
pleasure, Sandy.
So it was so good to have you. And I just want to tell my audience if you want to get in touch, like I said, with Noemi, I will have all her links in the show notes. And I really appreciate you listening today. If you're ready to start planning or want the reassurance of a clear path or just need inspiration, what's possible, I would love to hear from you. And you don't have to do this alone. I'm super excited about my upcoming trip to India. And it's really going to be an experience that blends culture, wellness, Ayurvedic teachings, sound healing, and transformation. And it truly is an trip that really shows us how powerful intentional travel can be. So, Until next time, keep dreaming and exploring. And remember, every journey starts with a single step.